I didn't know there was. Okay, I do hereby call this March 24th Maize City Council meeting to order and ask for roll call. Present. Here.
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 Here. Great. I would ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May be seated. Item 4 would be an approval of the agenda. I am going to add a 4A. We've got a little plaque to give out to somebody, so we're going to add 4A, which is a nice plaque for Craig. So I would ask for approval of the agenda unless there's any changes from staff other than 4A.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We go to 4A, which is, Jeff, if you want to come up and speak a little bit and do the honors and all that good stuff. We're here for pictures, of course.
Mayor, Council, it's with kind of confliction that I'm here to congratulate Craig Brasser on his retirement. He will be sorely missed. He's dedicated the last 32 years of his life to the law enforcement profession, serving here in Maize, then canine handler in Goddard, and now the last almost 19 years here in Maize as the deputy chief. He's done an amazing job, and I appreciate you taking the time to formally recognize that tonight. And I wish Craig all the best.
Thank you.
Present the plaque.
I think he should present the plaque, but I'm always in for a good picture. And I think the rest of the council should probably join us.
Okay.
19 years is great. I've been here 21. You're the only guy I've never known, you know. So.
They want us like behind
Right?
or down in front?
Down the front. Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
You want to get in there for a picture? You sure?
I didn't really dress up.
Oh, I think you need to get in there for at least one.
Yeah.
With Craig and with
Yeah, go there with you.
Jeff.
You're still a young guy.
Picture with his wife? Not just with his wife.
Just with the wife, yeah. Yeah, it's, you know, I'm not leaving here disgruntled. I'm not, I mean, it's just, it's time to go.
There comes a time to get it.
Support over the years has been great. Some of you all were more of a tough sell than others sometimes. But
You
truly,
know, my whole time we've had Lamanya and this guy here, and you've had
Yeah.
some great, you know.
I gave them my 2 years notice 2 years.
2 years.
That he did.
But truly, thank you for all the support.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be coming through here twice a day, just
Great, make sure you get to.
bright and early now.
We know what you're
Oh, no,
asking.
we're saying
Mary, you want to take a picture with Greg and his wife?
I do.
Congratulations.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks again. At this point, we're going to move on to public comments. Austin? How you doing?
Good.
Good. Go ahead.
I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm Austin Emershek with Garver. I'm just here to answer any questions about the change order for the lift station project.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have any questions. Do we have any questions?
Not now.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. We'll just call that good. Hang in there. All right. Item 6, consent agenda. Anybody wants to make a motion on that?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second. I got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 7 is business. Item A is Maize Industrial Park water interconnection. Staff, Nick V.
Mayor, Council,
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Great.
What I'm bringing you tonight is a project that we're working on in the industrial park. As you know, the industrial park kind of developed in a phased approach, and with that, so did the water system in the industrial park. And because of that, there's essentially 2 separate loops, if you will, in the industrial park. What this project would do would put an interconnection between the 2 water mains, and it would give us some flexibility in the future. If there's ever any issues, it allows us to backflow to serve those facilities in the industrial park. Today example, we ran a new water main, a larger water main to serve the Charlotte Pipe facility. So there's a section of water line that needs to be abandoned on 119th. In order to do so with the current water system's configuration, to perform that abandonment work, we'd have to put several of the businesses in the industrial park out of water for 4 to 8 hours. With this project, that we'd be able to perform that work and keep them on water for this example, and then again in the future, if we ever have any other issues where we need to isolate valves and do any other kind of water main repair work, we would be able to, we'd have much more flexibility to backfeed the industrial park. If Lori or Tristan, if you could go to that slide. So where I've put the red dot is where we would perform the interconnection, but initially this water main here that you see was put in when the industrial park first developed. And so that is essentially separate from this outside loop that was put in later. And so this point here is the only point where this interior water main is connected. And so we need to abandon a portion of this. And so we need to isolate, in other words, shut off this water main here, and it would put out this business and these businesses and these businesses here. So by doing this project and installing an interconnection here, we can shut this off and essentially backfeed these businesses and users through this connection here. And so again, if we ever, that's for today's example, and if there were ever any other issues in the future, it gives us some flexibility to be able to backfeed the system through this interconnection. The nice thing about this is that KDHE is letting us do what they would call like a one-page addendum to the project for the industrial park. This would obviously be 100% our responsibility to pay for. If we were to do this at a later date as a separate project, KDHE would require a whole set of plans in order to do this as a water main kind of an extension project. So we would really be saving some money from a design standpoint to do this. The other nice thing is that they're going to do this. They would do this work live, essentially, with live taps, so they could connect the two without having to shut any water off. And so that's beneficial for our industrial users, obviously, to not put them out of water.
So this, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, this is a price proposal by the utility contractor or a engineer's estimate?
This is a draft change order from the contractor to do the work, yes. And as it says in the cover sheet, we didn't seek other bids for this due to the timeliness. The contractor's already there and can perform the work. And then if we were to put this project off, it potentially cost more than we would have to do, like I said, a full set of plans with KDHE to do this at a later date as a separate project.
And there'd be mobilization and other things.
Yes, you'd have other costs associated with another contractor for mobilization and other things.
So I have two questions. So you said that we have two loops and each loop is supplied by a different supply.
Well, loop is maybe not the best term, but there's essentially two separate systems. I mean, they're the same water system, but there's two separate like mains here, if you will. So when we have to shut the main off back here, and therefore all of this section of water main would be out of water. So anybody connected here would be out of water, including these here. Because of the valve configuration we have here, we can backfeed from 119th all around this way to supply like Kyoto Yoshi and Worthington, because they're on this outer loop, but these interior industrial users, the ones that were there first, they aren't connected to that outside loop, if you will.
So all the piping's already there. It's just the backflow mechanism
Correct.
for that
Correct.
portion.
It's two valves and a piece of pipe.
Gotcha.
And it really is only going to be in this little area I have circled right here. So they're going to do a tap on this main, a live tap on this main here, and then one on here. And it just connects the two with a piece of pipe.
How long a pipe?
I could look in the draft change order. 58 feet of linear pipe. The most expensive part of the change order is the live taps.
Does this give us any more capacity? No.
It gives us more flexibility for issues that may come up. If we were to have a water main break or need to repair a valve and need to take the main out of service, we have this other way of, because right now this essentially, I mean, if you think of it, it's separate here. So this interior part is essentially separate from this outside part.
We're spending $36,000 on a what if the water main breaks to make sure the industrial park customers don't go without water for a period of time, whatever.
Well, and I can tell you, there's a lot of their equipment that's very sensitive to
I
water
get it,
pressures.
yeah.
And it was one of the things when we met with Charlotte early, is that they wanted some assurances that we would maintain certain levels of pressure. So I think this makes sure we provide pressurized water and some redundancy for our industrial park. That's not uncommon to have industrial redundant loops for electricity and for water services.
Was this something that was missed previously before you guys?
So that's a good question.
I have a good question.
When we did this, you guys may remember from, it might have been around 2019, we put the water main down 119th Street.
Yeah,
So this outside loop was part of that project. And initially this interconnection was going to be down here,
yeah.
and they ran into a conflict with the fiber main. And at that point, they decided to
Nix it.
nix it from the project
Hmm.
rather than deal with the fiber main at that point. And so this was something that would have already happened, something that they would have already, that had already been designed, and they eliminated it from the project at that time.
I agree that it's going to cost more if you put it off, and it certainly makes sense to do it. So I'm kind of in favor of it.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I would have, yeah, it'd been nice if it would have been included when we did that planning for,
If we would have had the foresight
yeah,
back then.
yeah. But it makes no sense if it's right in front of your face not to deal with it now. So,
And I felt like this was more of an ideal location because we would have had to do it at the time, but you'd be boring under 53rd to put it in down there as opposed to open cutting it up here.
I'm good with that.
well, Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
I would move to approve the change order for the industrial park lift station project for a dollar amount of $35,728 and authorize the city manager to sign.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the change order for the industrial park lift station project for $35,728 and authorize the mayor to sign. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
So Nick, will that take a day, 2 days?
They added 3 days.
3
to the
days?
Contract.
Okay.
Whether they actually take 3 days, I doubt it, but they added an additional 3 working days to the contract.
And when are they going to do it?
I'm not sure when they'll do it yet. It'll be kind of dependent on mayor who will do the taps.
Okay.
So there's roughly like another 70 days on the contract itself.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thanks again. Moving item, on to item B, the 1% sales tax vote resolution. Might have some discussion on that one.
As Maize has continued to see
Thank
record
you.
growth, we had our highest actual number of building permits for residential construction this last year. I think just around 240 building permits. And as we continue to see new development, we've at previous meetings, and I think even before I arrived here, there were discussions about how we might continue to address and improvements to traffic as we continue to see more traffic. As you're all aware, we see significant traffic that comes in the mornings and late afternoons for school traffic. You've got nearly 5/6 of the district that comes in from Wichita and creates a number of traffic issues, as well as as we continue to see more growth in some of these new subdivisions that have come. We're only going to continue to see traffic-related concerns. And so as we looked at on how we might potentially address this, we've had some early conversations that probably one of the best ways for us to address this is to look at the potential for something besides just utility fees and property tax to help pay for and make these improvements. And so what those discussions have been revolved around since this would be starting the spring retreat of last year, we talked about would there be a possibility of looking at doing a sales tax to help offset some of those costs. As you're aware, we put out a community survey to our citizens here recently, and we asked about their understanding and how they would feel about a potential sales tax and where they feel that funds, if we were to do a sales tax, where they feel those funds would be best put towards. And so you guys have all been presented with a copy of that survey, community survey, and you'll see in that survey that if people were to support a sales tax, definitely handling traffic safety as well as sidewalks that have a major need within the community, and accessibility to schools is an important thing. And so after a number of conversations, what we have before you today is a proposed sales tax that would be a 10-year sales tax that would potentially go onto the August 5th ballot, the primary ballot. We've discussed this previously at a workshop about where we feel this would be best to go towards, and after much discussion, we determined that if we were to do a 1-cent sales tax, 85% of that tax would be applied to the cost of maintenance, repair, and improvements to streets, sidewalks, and any related drainage improvements in the city. But another part that in our discussions and that the council made very clear is that if we're going to do this, we also need to provide potentially some property tax relief. And so the way we've potentially structured this question is to allow an additional 15%, which would be applied to reducing the ad valorem property tax for Maize. Based on the 2024 figures collected in Maize as part of the countywide sales tax, it's estimated that those totals could be in excess of $650,000 annually. I was waiting to receive December's sales tax collections to see where that number actually hit, and I was able to get those after the agenda came out. And in 2024, it's estimated that there was approximately a 1% sales tax. This is based upon the county's a countywide sales tax that the city of Maize would generate approximately $744,000. We know that that's a number that fluctuates yearly. We also know that that number has increased significantly since 2019. So we know that approximately over a 10-year period, we think that it could generate about $7.44 million over a 10-year period. With a continued focus on sales tax, generating retail construction efforts for those amounts could even be higher. So if we're, big part of our efforts right now are to add additional commercial to Maize, we think that number could get higher. That's a major part of what staff is pursuing right now, is filling some of the open spaces here in Maize and doing what we have to do to bring in strong businesses, retail businesses, restaurants, things of those nature that can actually increase that potential for that sales tax number that we have. We estimate that in our top 5 to 10 property sales tax generators here in Maize, at about 70 to 80%, and we're actually trying to shore those numbers up to be a little bit more exact here in the upcoming weeks, but we estimate that somewhere between 70 to 80% of those visitors are from outside of Maize. And so the great part about a sales tax is that citizens that don't necessarily live in Maize can help pay for critical infrastructure, in this case, improving the traffic ways and the sidewalks to get people around in the city of Maize. And so we feel strongly that a sales tax is a good approach for us as we go forward. We're actually one of 2 of the suburban cities touching the city of Wichita that does not have a sales tax. The only other one to my knowledge, is Bel Air. The other remaining ones have at least a half cent or a full cent sales tax. Staff has estimated that to make improvements, including adding sidewalks along 119th, 45th, and Tyler, and also to improve traffic ways along 45th, 119th, and Tyler Road, that it could be as much as $39 million. So where's the math, as you'll see, the math doesn't get us to be able to make all the improvements. But as we start to look at where the priorities lie for this, which we'll spend a lot of time here in the upcoming months trying to prioritize where we think some of those funds would go, I think it gets us a really good start. Our hope would be to, we're not going to probably get out of having to use property taxes to do some improvements. And what it also does is it provides a great opportunity for us to leverage grant funds that might be out there to help us make some of these projects happen. To make this kind of improvements in our current fiscal environment with just a property tax would be difficult without the assistance of another source like sales tax. We know that the proposed sales tax will allow us to fund, we know that they won't allow us to fund all of the projects, but it will give us a really good jump start on being able to prioritize and potentially to set up a number of projects and phases based upon priority use. We are in the process of collecting a number of traffic data to kind of see what portions of a potential project have the highest amount of traffic and where we might potentially look at prioritizing those pieces. Staff is recommending that a proposed sales tax be placed on the August 5th agenda, August 5th, 2025 primary ballot. This would not be a special election. It would be on the regular primary ballot. And over the next several months, staff would plan to hold a series of informational meetings and a release series of supporting information for the public to learn more about the potential impact that a proposed sales tax would have. We're reviewing potential draft, having reviewed potential draft language at the previous workshop. It's staff's recommendation that the proposed tax language be adopted through the attached ordinance that's out there for you. And I'd stand for any questions or any discussion points that the council would like to make.
Why put it on the primary ballot?
We talked about having a special election early this year, and we felt, to make sure we've got it right. And one, I think the primary ballot provides an opportunity when everybody potentially will come out and vote for it. And so rather than doing a standalone separate election, while we got people voting, we want to hear from the community how they feel about this.
Wouldn't there be more people voting if it was not the primary election?
Well, this isn't a presidential election, so the reality of it is, you could wait that long, but the longer we wait, the longer time it takes for us to start doing this. You have to have a quarter in between when you would vote on it. So essentially, that would push it to probably middle of next year until you could start collecting. So that's one piece
Big
of that.
point, yeah.
If you were to approve this resolution today, we'd be able to start collecting as of January 1st, 2026, if the citizens felt that this is something that they could support.
Just a clarification question. It shows on the agenda recommendation says for a special election, and then
It's not a special election. It's the primary election.
So it's not special election.
That's an error.
okay.
We originally looked at potentially doing a special election in April, and it's at the primary election that we'd be looking to do this.
And my comment is that I want to give the citizens of Maize an opportunity to vote on if, if they want infrastructure, if they want some improvements, this is a way to go about doing it. And this is a way to help folks from outside of Maize help pay for it, because right now, the citizens of Maize are paying the full burden. We've got people driving on our streets every day, coming in every day, and I, we keep hearing about property tax, property tax, property tax, and this is a way to kind of help the citizens of Maize, but at the same time work on some infrastructure that is going to be needed. And if they vote for it, great, and if they don't vote for it, well, it is what it is, and we'll move on. So I just want them to have the option. That's all I'm asking for. That's my philosophy.
My comment regarding the sales tax is looking at May's revenue structure and, the development pattern and also the current debt burden. I do think we definitely need a new stream of revenue. Sales tax can capture portion of the non-residents' usage of our infrastructure, but also doesn't mean even though we provide portion to the property tax relief, but bear in mind, our citizens will still bear some burden. But that's for the good of further developing our infrastructure. Another thing, I want to call for a caution on the sales tax. Even though in the past 5 years, we always see the sales tax increasing, but kind of overall sales tax is a more volatile revenue stream. So if we get this passed, my suggestion next step for the staff is to look into the fund balance policy and the reserve policy, because if we have add on this more volatile stream of revenue, we do need to pay attention to our reserve. So that would be my comments on this.
Yeah, I think for me, looking at all the different data points that we have, we have the community survey where it seems as though a lot of our community members would support a sales tax specific to infrastructure and safety improvements. Looking at this through kind of a business type lens and not necessarily a municipality lens, I think it's really hard to argue that revenue diversification is important because, we have a tremendous amount of uncertainty at the state level right now with what's going to happen if there's going to be a cap on property taxes, and that's going to make it really hard to budget around things. With the amount of growth that we've had over the last several years, we have some infrastructure needs, and the two things that I hear the most things about on the council are safety improvements to roads, sidewalks, things like that, making the community safer for pedestrians and for vehicle traffic, and then property tax relief. And I think this takes a step in that direction towards property tax relief, and may provide more in the future.
I would do the same to echo Jeff's sentiments. I think those are the main two things we've heard since we've been on council, the concerns from the citizens. And I think this helps us afford a way to start working towards some of those goals that really are kind of unreachable without diversifying some of our revenue.
We all done discussing? Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I would like to move to approve a resolution or the resolution authorizing and providing for a special election in the city of Maize for the purpose of submitting to the electors of the city the question of imposing a 1% citywide retailer sales tax and providing for the giving of notice of said election.
Just a minor correction. It's not a special election. It's a primary election.
I would
Primary.
modify my motive or my motion to say primary election.
Second.
Apologize.
A second.
I have a motion and a second to approve a resolution authorizing and providing for a primary election in the city of Maize, Kansas, for the purpose of submitting to the electors of the city the question of imposing a 1% citywide retailer sales tax and providing for the giving of notice of said election. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for everybody on your comments. I know it's been a long, drawn-out process for everybody. We've done a lot of due diligence, in my opinion, and we'll let the citizens decide.
Well, just so you all know, you'll be seeing some, we'll be looking to set up some meetings for the public for the opportunity to participate and hear a little presentation on our recommendations, and why this is important for the community to consider. And then we'll look to set anywhere from 4 to 6 meetings that will do this. Also, try to record a virtual meeting that anybody can see. We'll try to put some information in the upcoming weeks onto our website for people to see. And this will just be an opportunity for us to educate and communicate to our citizens what the impact of this will be. And so you'll hear more in the upcoming weeks on that. And I encourage you each to attend at least one of those, if at all possible, so one of those meetings, to come and kind of hear from the public.
We need to hear. Yep. All right, with that, we're moving on to reports. Chief?
Mayor, council, I have nothing to add to my report, but I will be happy to stand for any questions you may have.
Chief, is anything new or coming out of the USD meetings you attend?
From the school district?
Yes, sir.
Well, we have a monthly standing meeting. City staff and I meet with the schools. Most recently, we've been helping them with their crisis drills from the police department side. I've noted that in our report. They're obligated to have quarterly drills. And so we've assisted with assessing how those safe defend drills are going. Other than that, knock on wood, the school year is going fairly smoothly since Christmas break. Everybody just got back from spring break. So fortunately, all the kids were settled in and quiet today. So I hope that continues through the rest of the year. We do have the prom schedule that we will be monitoring both high schools' proms. So I'm in constant communication with the executive director of health and safety at the schools.
I'll chime in too, because it's all staff that sits in on those meetings. The other thing that we've discussed is trying to be a facilitator as they look at how they might control the speeds along 37th and also Tyler Road near the school district. Those are all Wichita streets, and so the city's agreed we'd be glad to be part of facilitating that. And we're continuing to try to set up some meetings with the city of Wichita as well to help chime in on that and see what possibilities we can to kind of control speeds during schools. And then another thing that we've discussed here at the most recent meeting is we will be having our joint meeting with the school district on April 21st, and it'll actually be at Impact. And we're talking about the agenda, what we plan to discuss. Another thing that's really come up, and both the school district and the city are participating, is there's a committee for safe routes to school funding through Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization that we're participating in. And our plan is to be on there and help advise what some best practices are as they look at potentially doing their first round of planning grants to design and make sure that we have safe routes via sidewalks to the schools in Sedgwick County. And so both Nick Vestering and Darren Augustine from the school district are on that committee. And so we hope that they'll be able to add some good input as they start to look at a planning grant. So typically the way Safe Routes to School works is there's actually, you have to do a planning grant, and they actually come up with some recommendations on routes that make sure they can maximize safety for students. And so they'll do that planning grant, and then they'll potentially have funding grants after that. So that's another thing we've been working on with the school.
Is there ever any discussion on trying to minimize the backlog and congestion when it's drop off and pickup times?
I know when working with the school district, we regularly look at different schools when we're seeing issues. Some of the major changes that we made last year were at Maize South, and that's helped alleviate some of that traffic off of Tyler Road. They came in with a new bus drop-off location, new parent drop-off location. Some of the challenges are around our elementary schools and intermediate schools because of the amount of traffic going to them. And because our north campus is so landlocked, that creates a number of challenges as far as student pickup and drop off. But I know that working with Darren and transportation, we help them look at their drop off points and pickup points on a regular basis as we encounter more problems.
I know one in particular at Vermillion, that when they closed that one street, it made, they could have went to where the city park is, it made everything 10 times worse, if you
Yes.
will. And then Maize Central, I'm just thinking out loud here, but if we've got potential development going on the west side of that, if we could open up a street going that direction that could be primarily used for that, it would be, because I had no idea, but I came through one day at the right time, and Maize Central drop-off people were blocking the intersection at Albert and James.
Mhm.
And it's like, wow. But, there's no stop sign there. So they just, any people that were going south there, couldn't get through. But
And
anyway,
we were able to alleviate some of the traffic up in that area by having Prairie Woodman come in off of 119th.
Yeah.
And so that's helped some. But we'll continue to look at ways that we can make that as best that we can.
So where is Kel-Tec Basic Training Academy at? Where's that located?
Caltech,
Yeah, you had, so Jacob Thomas graduated from there.
KLETC.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's
Oh.
the basic training academy up in Yoder.
Oh, it's in Yoder. Okay, out there at the old airport up there?
Yep,
Okay. Guess I just pronounced it bad.
not a
Sorry.
problem.
Sorry, chief.
And Mr. Thomas is in field training right now with some of our field trainers.
So we only have one detective, right?
One detective, yes, sir.
So at what point, how's his workload? Is it, so at what point we go to two? Or
Well, we've authorized for 2. Fortunately, we got a great pickup when we hired our new records person we stole her from Park City. And so a lot of the incident-based reporting that Piper was doing, she has actually taken over. And so that's lightened his load some. So he's been able to focus on his investigative cases and get those caught up. So that has been extremely helpful. And we've been in discussion with administration as far as what is the best use for that FTE in the immediate future, and what are the current priorities as of right now, what's the most important thing. So we're working with administration on best allocation of those full-time employee positions.
so you're 4 guys short right now?
2.
Or people, I shouldn't say guys, that's a general term. 2?
I have two patrol openings right now. One of them technically is an SRO, but we just have an SRO process. We'll be naming that person. I have 2 people on light duty. One hopefully will be coming off of light duty in the next couple of weeks. The other one, she's due in May, so she's looking forward to get back in the schools in August. But they've been doing some good work in assisting Piper with some of his caseload.
I noticed detective had that one guy with 5 felony.
Mhm.
That's, what were the felonies? Can you elaborate?
I'm trying to recall which case because he just had a charging appointment today. So let me look at that. Oh, that was related to a burglary and theft, I believe. And we were able to get him for not only the burglary and the theft, but every time he tried to pass, let's say a check, there's 2 counts to that. One for possessing it, one for passing it. So there were some financial crimes, if I recall that one specifically.
One other off the cuff question, if you don't mind. Cadillac Lake, they found a body there 3 weeks ago.
Mhm.
Did that person get identified?
They did. And it wasn't our normal person that is up in this area around 37th and Maize.
I noticed that.
Now, he had gone for a while.
Yeah,
He had other living arrangements made for him, but he is back out, so.
but it wasn't a local person. It was,
It was a local homeless person from Wichita.
oh, it was.
Mhm.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Public Works.
Ooh.
Hello again, Mayor and Council. The only thing I'd like to add in my report is, last week we got our bid package out for a street preservation project on 45th Street between Maize and Tyler. It'll be a scrub seal, fog seal project and restriping it. Ross and I have spent quite a bit of time with the help of Tom revising our bid packages for our street preservation projects. Really trying to formalize them, including the bidding documents with the construction agreement and a nice map to go along with it. So I've been really happy with it, and I'd be happy to share it with you guys, show you some of the improvements we've made, and I'm really pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because you'd kind of modified what you were going to do this year. And so
Yeah,
you're
we
kind of
did.
revamping that
Yep,
all.
we did modify it, yep.
Yeah, if you could share that with us,
Sure,
that'd
I'd
be
be happy
great.
to. I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Not hearing any, Nick. Doing good.
Can you remind
Oh.
me when our workshop, is it called a workshop meeting?
For the water tower selection,
Is it, well, no, the 11th at 3 or 4?
it's at, let me look.
3,
It is
4? I don't have it on my calendar, so,
April 11th at 3:30.
okay.
And I did send it to your
Yeah,
C.
yep.
I did find out today that I could go Thursday afternoon, but I don't think that worked with you. So,
I can't, I'm at a
Yeah.
conference
Yeah.
Thursday and Friday. But I should be done by 1 on Friday, so
Okay.
3:30 works.
They're going to sit down on the selection committee for the RFP for the water tower.
Right.
We're going to have some council representation.
And I won't miss the workshop the next week either.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll hold you to that.
got it on my calendar.
Kind of what I'm planning for that discussion is maybe not necessarily actually selecting somebody, but getting your guys' input and getting it narrowed down to a couple. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Planning zoning. Mitch?
Council members,
Hey,
my report pretty much stands on its own. I'll stand for questions as is.
any questions for Mitch?
None for me.
Is that Long Branch address the one on the circle, the curve?
Yeah, on the curve, yes, that is correct.
It is?
Oh, right there.
Seems
Okay.
kind of smaller to turn into a lot to build a house on, but
Really?
Meets the specs, but it's gonna be small. It's gonna be
it's really
tight.
tiny.
Any-
I figured they eventually would absorb that somehow.
The HOA, from what I understand, he tried to pass it off to the HOA and they didn't want it.
Well, they promised us a park, and that's where kind of it was supposed to always end up at, but
Why didn't we grab onto it then?
it was supposed to be it was supposed to be a development park,
Oh, yeah,
not a city
yeah.
thought park, but
So do we have any, when we do the housing, so like up here on 53rd Street, on the north side of the church, it's like all them dang-gum duplexes in there, can we make sure that there's, plant plenty of trees and shrubbery and things, so it looks a lot better?
When going forward from now, that's one of the little things I'll have my input on that as well. This one was done before I got here,
Right.
but yes, the trees and greenery and green space, that's the key element of mine.
Yeah, like in the front yard. So I come, where's my truck? And I come up 119th this morning and those duplexes down there. I mean, it is what it is, but I mean, eventually we get some nice big trees in there. It sure personally help the look of them because it just looks like a row of barracks. So, but I was just curious if we had any authority over all that stuff.
Authority, I'm not too sure of. We do have design standards that we can implement.
Yeah.
And that's how we influence the process.
do we still have in place the tree reimbursement program?
Mhm.
We need to continue to push that. I feel like it hasn't been mentioned in a couple of years in any kind of major way. Maybe that's a push we could do this fall or next spring in the water bills or something as a, hey, if you plant trees, you can get reimbursement if they're a certain kind or,
Or
And
maybe send that out
developers
to the homeowners
Take
association
advantage.
yeah, to the homeowners
or
associations
to the developer to see if they'll put out
or
to
developers, yeah.
investors,
Mhm.
because a lot of those duplexes are owned by different
Yeah.
investors.
It was a big push when I moved in back in the day
Yeah.
and so we went out and got 3 trees right away and got reimbursed
Just curious because I mean worthwhile trees
and they're big now.
make them look decent,
Right. I agree with you.
So I was just curious if we got some more teeth in something like that.
As we look at our comprehensive plan, we may look at things like additional aesthetic standards that we might put into there as well. So those are all things that we'll certainly be looking at as we start to dig into the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, I'd encourage it.
You look at Eagle's Nest as an example. I don't know that we can do anything, but they've got that swimming pool that's going to been built like 4 years from now and ago, and I mean, it's kind of become a joke of the neighborhood. We don't have any ability to push that along, do we?
I can contact them or reach out to them to see what their plans are and if they have a calendar date or anything like that. I can engage with them and see what process they're currently dealing with.
I actually approved plans for that quite a while ago.
It's still just dirt, so. And it's been dirt for probably 3 years.
And the way those HOAs develop, they usually develop and start to build the money by collecting the fees for years.
That
And
place
that's-
is kind of filled up.
I know,
They should
just
have-
like
they
our
should-
neighborhood is
they
finally
should-
filled up and
Yeah.
we kept getting told a park would come eventually. And
Well, don't get me going on yours.
yeah, green space, green space with sidewalks. So.
Sorry, Mitch.
Oh, it's all right.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, in relationship to your floodplain duties
Yes, sir.
that you enjoy so much. Any update on the issue along 53rd, the mobile home park?
I believe we've come to a compromise
Yeah,
with the gentleman there. I think it's going to be a workable solution. I'm waiting for the state's response to that right now. And they seem amenable to my suggestion as well. So it looks like with no cost involved as to date, we may be able to just move forward and comply from this moment forward.
You want to explain to the council kind of what's the whole thought process behind doing this, and what the CRS program and what we're planning to pursue with that?
The CRS program, it's essentially, and if I screw this up, Bob, you can step in. It's a money saving approach to the National Flood Insurance Program. You get points for qualifying for certain things. One example would be to engage with community on floodplain issues. And like the floodplain permit that I sent out that most of you should have gotten your bills last month, I believe. That's one step that you can take. I just took the initiative to publish that regardless of where we stood on the CRS program anyway, because I thought it was useful information. But things like that, we can lower the overall cost of the floodplain insurance for people that find it necessary to have it.
It's a good program. The more points you get, the bigger the discount can potentially be for your residents. So I think it's an important step forward, considering that we've got a lot of flooding and drainage issues in Maize. Pursuing something like that can really save our citizens some money if we're able to achieve that CRS status and continue to improve upon that. We can potentially get bigger percentage discounts on flood insurance for people that are required to have it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, legal. Thank you. Operations.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to give you a little report on the cash balance report and treasurer's report. This will probably be the last time that Joe and I do it for a while, hopefully. Elizabeth Eck is sitting behind us, and this is her very first day on the job, and so we're excited to have her.
Sorry to keep you late on the
We've-
first day.
She's already sat in some preliminary budget meetings and a number of other great items that she's been able to participate in already. But as you kind of look at those reports, the first one I'll have you take a look at is the cash balance report. And you'll notice if you were just to take the percentage of the year based upon through the end of February, where you should typically be is about 16.6%. That's 2/12 of the year where we should be at as of currently. And so overall, we're in very good shape. We're at 13.47% of budgeted amount that you can see, and that's as of March 1. Yeah, so as of the end of February. You will see that some of the ones that are higher there are the equipment reserve is running at about 24.22%. And a big reason for that is we try to make our purchases early in the year because the wait time for vehicles and equipment has become so long that to avoid making those encumbrances, we're trying to make a lot of those purchases early in the year. So that's going to seem a little bit higher than others because we do make those purchases early. And if you move over to the treasurer's report, there's really no concerns. Cash balance is overall in good shape. And we see everything coming in as it's supposed to. On the March 20 ad valorem disbursements, March disbursements for ad valorem and motor vehicle taxes were $231,044.21. And this is compared to $301,096.21 for the same time last year. There's a lot of reasons that those numbers can be off. It could be delayed payments, or maybe some that decided to make second half payments. You can make half your payments at the beginning of the year and half later on. It could be because someone might be contesting their taxes. There's just a lot of reasons. Those numbers can be off, so there's nothing to really worry about from that. Year to date for 2025, the total collections have been $3,448,062.27. And at this time, last year, $3,082,933.67. Just as a note, we do plan a spring bond and interest. There will be a spring bond and interest payment due on March 25th. And that'll be around $1,300,000. So you'll see a reduction in the cash balance when that happens. It's a planned expense each year. We know what that amount's going to be each year. So that's really the financials. Any questions on either the treasurer's report or the cash balance report? With that, I'll go directly into the operations report, and I'll kind of just hit some of the highlights from here. We are in preparation for the April 18th council workshop. We've now completed, as it relates to strategic plan, we've completed the community survey. And we've completed the influencing factors report and a focus group themes report. And you guys all should have had that sent out to you. We do plan to go ahead and put that out publicly as well. For anybody that wants to see that, you'll see the community survey will come out in the next Maize highlights. That'll be one of the things you'll see. Some of the things that we hope to accomplish, we'll spend the morning of the 18th at the council workshop setting a mission vision statement for our upcoming strategic plan. We'll be determining the core values of the organization, and we'll be setting goals for a 3-year strategic plan that day. So there'll be a lot of heavy lifting that morning. So be prepared to be able to participate, everybody. And then we'll spend the afternoon working on 2026 budget. So our hope would be get you out of here long before 5, but it all kind of depends how we get through. But we're excited for that workshop and to get into some important stuff. A couple other things I want to hit on. We are deep into the budget, as I just talked about. The workshop will be there, but at this point we've distributed budget worksheets, and we're scheduling internal review meetings. Already started this week, so we talked about we'll be doing those. We'll be closing. I know that Joe spent some time closing out the 2024 budget in Encode, and while opening the 2025 budget, we've held some individual sections. Held meetings with the individual sections on 2026 budget requests, and we've discussed staffing changes, requests in terms of organizational needs, and you'll hear about some of those on the 18th when we have that meeting. We've some of the other things I was going to ask Tristan to come and speak about some of the events that we've got happening coming up here this year. We're excited. There's going to be some new events that you guys haven't seen. We heard you loud and clear at our last retreat that you guys want to continue to see some more events. And so I'll let Tristan come out and talk a little bit about the events that we have planned.
From the report, you can see that we have started planning for our 2025 events. I did provide you kind of a general calendar that I've started to put together with 2025 events, as well as a couple of flyers for some of our new ones. The first one coming up is our Spring Kids Concert. So that one's April 26th from 10:30 to 12:30. That'll be at the amphitheater. I worked with one of our local music educators, and she was able to get an award-winning children's artist named Mr. Jeffrey. And so it's a very kind of like dance. He's very like engaged with the crowd. So it should be a really fun family event. Mrs. Todd and Kim Knoller from Maize South Elementary will both also be there to perform. So there'll be a total of 3 artists that day. Then we will kind of move towards kicking off our Maize Farm and Art Market again. I just pushed that out. It'll be running the second Thursday of each month from May through September. We do have a couple new additions. We're going to work with Maize Rec Commission to feature a couple sneak peeks at the June and July Maize Farm and Art Market of their musical theater program. So that will be fun during those two markets. And then new coming up after that will be our summer concert series. I have 3 shows scheduled. So May 30th, we'll kick it off with the band, and that's like an 80s rock band. We have Big Fat Fun scheduled on June 27th. And that's everything from pop, rock, and alternative favorites. Then we have on July 18th, Kyle Kilgore finishing it off, and he's our country artist. So all the concerts will begin at 7 p.m. We'll encourage everyone to bring their own chairs, their blankets. We'll have food and drinks out there. So those will be really fun to have those evenings. And then last that I'll kind of touch on just as our new event is we have an Independence Day celebration. It's called Light the Sky on the 3rd of July. So we'll have some festivities take place beforehand, but at 9:30 p.m. we'll have a community fireworks show. It'll be set to music, and so everyone can kind of come out, have some fun leading up to it, and then they'll have a big community fireworks show. They can come grab their seat, gather at the Maize City Park. We'll have really good views of that. And then we are still planning our annual favorites like our fall festival, Halloween drive-through, and Christmas tree lighting. And as those details become available, I'll share with those as well. But we'll get that out as it gets closer to those dates.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Much better. Thank you.
Looks good.
Yeah. I like it.
Woo, that's awesome.
I like it a lot.
I also, wanted to highlight that we're well underway to starting to work on our website as well. And so we've now kind of accepted the master design look for what it is, and they're in the process of setting the site map. So that's what are the sections that are going to exist within the website. So it's going to take a lot of effort from everybody, not just administration. It'll be individual departments that are going to help us make sure we put the best information out there. The whole idea is how can we be a little bit more transparent with our citizens? And so hopefully a strong website will allow us to do that. And we'll continue to support put out as much on social media as we can, make sure people are informed. But that's another thing out there. And then the last thing I'll hit on, this was as of last Thursday. We're doing strong on our building permits. Once again, 27 single family residential building permits have been issued in 2025 so far, and 16 duplexes and 1 commercial that was issued as well. So we're excited. We've had some great conversations with potential developments from an economic development standpoint. I won't get into it, but if you look in this list, you can kind of see a list of those that we've talked to. There's some pretty exciting, there's an exciting one that we hope to see in the upcoming planning commission, but it has to do with potentially a medical senior related development that we'll hopefully see coming up here. That's one that we're particularly excited about. We've been following a number of properties that have gone for sale through auction, and we're continuing to follow up with landowners to try to make sure we can encourage development that I think will be positive for Maize going forward. So we continue to work with our retail consultant, Retail Attractions. I think Joe sent out kind of a summary of some of the contacts they've made. We'll continue to work with potential developers and retailers about something that would be a really good fit for Maize. Exciting thing out there that we will talk about on the 18th is the themes report. That themes report is a result of the focus groups that we met with as part of the strategic plan. And I think as you look at that themes report, you can see that there's a lot of that you hear a lot of the same things that you as a council has pointed out. So I think it means that, for me, that means that we're on the right track as we start to look at our strategic plan going forward. So we'll get into a lot of those details, and I think the most amount of input we can get as we look to continue to grow the community is very, very important, and we'll continue to seek input when we can about what we can do better as a community to provide the community that our citizens want. I'd stand for any questions on the rest of the report.
I did notice that you noted that staff met with the property owners of Stone Ridge Development, Hidden Acres, about paving their streets.
Yeah,
How did that go?
they are interested in paving the street, and we are working through, I will probably be reaching out to you at some point. We're trying to figure out a mechanism to do that. The challenge that exists for that neighborhood is that there's only houses on one side, and the property owner, I've got I owe him a call back. I've been playing phone tag with him, but the property on the other side is not in the city. And though I've heard from the residents, not directly from the owner of that property, they're not necessarily interested in participating. So I won't take it for what it's worth until I actually talk to them. But and that makes it extremely expensive for those residents to put a paved road in. But they all have most of them have a strong desire to do that. So we're trying to figure out a solution. Part of it may be we carry some of that cost, and we take a chance that at some point in the future there'll be a desire to develop the rest of that. And so we're gonna weigh everything as it relates to that project, and hopefully bring to you guys a recommendation, and ultimately you guys can make that decision how we handle that. But it does make it really difficult when you only have half of the properties on the street to be able to pay for it. We've tried to come up with a solution to do about the bare minimum that we think for us to continue to maintain it into the future would be. And so it just, we'll continue those conversations. We did meet with our bond attorney to kind of figure out how we could potentially do it. I will send something out. You guys can
Specials
have
are
some.
usually assessed to any property that has the access, though.
But
I mean-
you cannot assess a piece of property that's not in the city limits.
We would have to annex it before we could.
And there's challenges with that too, because there's not water and sewer to that area as well.
The area is also unplatted, which makes it more difficult to annex it.
So you'll probably be hearing more on that one. We're kind of we're trying to work out some of the details of what we think the city might be able to participate in to be able to make it still happen.
That kind of reminds me of years ago, we did a lot of streets, city at large money as far as paving, kind of did the bare minimum. I wonder as over the years, those neighborhoods change, maybe they'd be inclined to curb and gutter their particular block. I wonder if we shouldn't shoot something out to city blocks maybe next year. Wait till after the sales tax thing, but ask, let everybody know if they wanted to upgrade their street that's available to them.
We can certainly look at that, and that's what they have benefit districts for, to be able to do that. And if there's a desire, we're willing to work with anybody. And
Yeah, I would think most people just probably don't
Think about it.
or know how to go about doing it if they did think about it. So,
I know we end up kicking ourselves every time we have a development that starts to go in without roads being.
as far as I'm concerned, if
Figured out.
there's one in the city going forward, my recommendation will be that they all have paved streets when they come into the city and when they get
We already
developed.
have that.
It does make a major challenge for Public Works to maintain a dirt road and to really maintain it to a level that makes everybody happy. They do a tremendous job with our paved streets, and they do a very good job with the dirt roads, but they're just hard to keep.
It's just more maintenance. I think.
And as you're seeing with the folks at Stone Ridge, they want to see a paved road. It's not, a lot of people don't want to live on a dirt road. Some people do, but there's a lot of people that don't.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Yes, sir. We'll move into council member reports. Start with Kevin down there at the end. Kevin?
all right. Chief, I did miss 2 questions for you. The interview board you're putting together, who resides on that board?
For which process?
For the hiring process, I do. believe.
Okay, we use different boards depending upon what the position is.
Okay,
So for a patrol officer, the final step would be an interview board that's made up of a community member, somebody else from a law enforcement, and then one of our internal sergeants. So the last board that we did for the SRO position, we used Joanna from Moxie, the community member. We used Chief Brandon Russell from Derby. And we used Mr. Boykins, the principal at Maize South, and then one of our sergeants sat on that board. So it's composed of a number of different individuals. Generally, that's similar makeup for a patrol officer. For the deputy chief process, I'm gonna design that a little bit different. There's probably gonna be multiple interview boards.
okay. Yeah, I was just curious, and I meant to ask you when you did your report. No, that was the only one. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
The other, I've got two other things. One is, years ago, we had, I made it sound like it's ancient, but not that long ago, we had a master sidewalk plan that we were working off of. I haven't heard or seen that in a long time. Obviously, it probably, if it's still around, needs to be updated and with future projects, outlined. So
You're talking about the Maize in Motion plan, and there's a number of projects that we've completed as part of that.
sure.
And I think as we're even today, as we were talking about several of those projects that aren't completed, I think you'll probably see a recommendation that we do a section of sidewalk with this upcoming budget. And there's also, I think, a real potential to work with the school system to see whether they'd be able to help be a participant in that, especially as there's some of these that are there. But we could certainly update you and tell you which projects have been completed as part of that. And then I think, maybe even tied in with this safe routes to school, I think there is an opportunity to update that. And we'll work to do that.
And also incorporate that into our strategic planning as well. So, great. One last thing, and it's kind of a impulse decision, but I'm thinking I'm going to put together I'm going to call it Code Enforcement Task Force. And basically the intent behind it would be people that have violations that can't take care of it themselves, say an old lady that's retired or whatever the situation, they don't have, then that task force would get together and try to help those folks out.
There's a lot of communities that do that. In McPherson, where I came from, they had a Brush Up McPherson program in it. And I think you'll actually, I can put you in touch with a couple people that I think would like to help sponsor and help pay for materials and things like that too. So I think if you reach out to some of the local churches, there's a desire to even be part of that volunteer effort. I think it's a great thing for us to look to do. And if you're willing to volunteer, I think staff will give you all the support we can as we do that. It's much easier if we can work with people and people that are challenged financially to be able to do some of those things to make their houses look good.
Yeah. It obviously, we identify that need when we're doing our code enforcement, but some people don't have many options, unfortunately. And I'd be happy to kind of head that up and help organize it. So once we figure out a little more of it, then maybe we could. Well, I don't even know that we have to publish it because we'll know the ones that need that kind of care, right, or attention. So we might have to publish it to get volunteers.
And we've asked the code enforcement officer to kind of keep an eye on some of the ones that are challenges, especially financially, to make some of their improvements. So I think he's continued to work on a list of potential projects like that.
Super. All right, that's all I have.
Alex, thank you.
All I wanted to just say thanks, everybody, for all your work, and welcome, Elizabeth. That's all I got. I'm good.
You done chit-chatting?
I'm done chit-chatting.
Jennifer?
I reiterate a welcome to Elizabeth tonight and just reiterate that we're sad to see Brasser go, but I think he thought it was time and we want to be here to support him for that. So I did have one question. So the first meeting in April, has it been moved from a Monday to a Tuesday? Did I miss that? It's listed as April 8th on our
I think it shows the 7th.
listing.
It should be the 7th.
Okay,
That's a correction.
you know
It should
me
be
and the
7th.
calendar.
It'll be the 7th.
I check all the dates while I'm here, so.
I moved one meeting
Okay.
to Tuesday and now
Well, I
that's what I ought about it.
I have noted that Alex is gone that day, so I didn't know if we moved the meeting or that he was going to be gone potentially.
When?
The 7th of April?
Maybe. I think I'm going to be around.
Okay,
And Mayor Stivers will be on that day as well. So you'll be
okay,
acting.
okay.
I don't know 100% yet.
Okay.
It changed today.
If there's anybody else going to be gone, let me know
You have to let
because
him
we
know.
may have to look at
Because
doing
it's
something
gone.
like what we did
I'll
for
let him.
today.
I'll let him know as soon as I know.
But I just want to make sure it was the 7th. That's all I had.
That's it?
Yep.
So just want to echo the thoughts of thank you to staff. I know you guys are taking on a lot right now with the community survey that went out and the strategic planning that we're getting ready to do, preparing for the budget coming up. All the discovery that we've done for the sales tax and then all the other great things I see on all your reports. So just want to say thank you. The communication's been really good and I appreciate all of that.
I also want to echo all the thanks and also want to especially thank Nick for agreeing to host I call it Public Finance Professionals Lunch and Learn at Maize City Hall. I said that can be a good opportunity also to welcome our new finance officer. So, actually that one, the Maize one will be the very first one offsite. When I consider WSU as onsite. So, yep, thank you, Nick. So that will be on April 11th.
The 11th?
Yeah, April 11th. Yeah, I can send
It's
you
gonna
the calendar.
Can you
invite.
send that to me?
Yep, I will.
Thank you.
Yeah, so in that day, we will discuss fund balance and reserve policy, actually.
Because I come back on the 10th, so that works out.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So that's a kind of a provide informal setting for the public finance officers, budget officers in the surrounding municipalities to get together and chat. But we kind of get the feedback each time. If we have a specific topic to discuss, it would be good. So we did that in February. We talked about the budget simulation, basically public engagement in the budget process. And April will be the fund balance and reserve policy. Thank you.
Thank you. The only thing I have is I took the wind out of my sails. I won't be here for the 7th. Other than that, I don't think I have anything. Had lunch with the chief today. We had a nice discussion about this, that, and the other thing. That was nice. Thank you. You guys should try that restaurant. It's pretty darn good. And other than that, that's all I have for right now. So
Did you resolve this, that, or the other thing?
we did. We chit-chatted.
That's good.
You know. That's an inside joke.
Mr.
No.
Mayor, I would make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
I got a motion, second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those negative, we're adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody.